Welcome, weary travelers, to Basic Binges on the Nom Talk Network. I am your host, Mike Manalo, and today we have a huge, theme to talk about, a huge movie to talk about, with some of our favorite traveling party members as well. I, of course, am talking about Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, probably the best surprise to hit theaters this year, I would say. But I cannot do this alone. Dungeons and Dragons is a party game, not a party game, but it's a group game with all of us, all your best parties all together. So I guess it is a party game, but that kind of party, anyways, traveling party. But
I would
I
call it
can't do
party.
this alone. That's the point. And with me, as always, I've got a panel of some of the best and the brightest and the most amazing individuals co-hosting this thing with me. We've got Carolyn Poddig, Waiya, and Kenji on the call. Hey guys, how you been? Um,
Yo,
Round of
Doing good.
introductions, just for everyone. Wyo, do you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Wyatt Paints. I'm a gamer. I love movies, and I'm here to talk about them.
Amazing. Thank you, Wyatt. Carolyn, on you.
I am Carolyn. I am a bard class of the
Ooh.
College of Lore and
Ooh.
Legends. That's my most recent character anyway. And I also love movies, work around movies, live, breathe movies. It's what I do. And I love theme parks and I love party games. So this is going to be fun.
Yay! Welcome, Carolyn. And looking to serve us some food. Thank you for that, Kenji, for feeding us. Yeah, we got Kenji Donville. Kenji, want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I am Kenji. You can call me the Kenjinator. I'm currently at my parents' place, who also happens to be the dungeon master of the Gatewalker saga that I am part of, the Dungeons and Dragons campaign I'm part of. He just brought me some food. It's this, oh my God, it's this amazing Hamburg steak with some enoki mushrooms on it, with some alfalfa sprouts, with a side of mixed grains rice. And of course, my handy dandy Gatewalker mug. So
we love it.
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about this because I'm always plugging my Dungeons and Dragons show, stream that I do with my dad. So, I'm excited to talk.
Well, it wouldn't be Basic Binges without somebody bringing some food to the table. And Kenji, your dinner looks amazing. What's everyone else eating and drinking right now? I'm honestly just drinking a mug of nice green tea out of my X-Men mug, which isn't a D&D mug, but still. What about you guys, Carolyn, Waya?
I am trying to chill out for the evening with my water, but naturally, because I am high energy and very excited, I got my sugary drink that I probably shouldn't be drinking. But beyond that, dinner was sushi that is now gone. So
that sounds lovely. Why? What about you, buddy?
Well, I made some enchanted cookies.
Ooh.
And they're of the recreational variety.
Nice. I was just about to ask. Is it the old Toby?
The 360 milligram version.
You did not bring enough for the party, sir. That was a party foul.
I do have enough for everybody if you'd like. I'm also drinking purple drink with vodka.
That's our resident apothecary druid, by the way, everyone. Basically gathering woodland, materials to make cookies out of all of those herbs and stuff. But that's
magic,
awesome.
baby.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we gotta do magic. We gotta talk magic, right? Yeah, this movie, I don't think anyone expected it to be as good as it was, right? And shame on us. But also, we were kind of justified in thinking so, because the last Dungeons and Dragons movie that we ever heard about or saw anything about was in 2000 with Jeremy Irons, and it was a garbage heap of garbage. Honestly, it was just so bad that we needed several of Waya's cookies to just erase that from our memory.
I forgot about that movie. Honestly,
yeah. No, you were supposed to forget, Kenji.
No, I was telling Wyatt about this. That movie was the first time I was ever angry at a film, and I was so angry when Marlon Wayne's character died that I stood up in the theater and I shouted at the screen, little 13-year-old me, and I got escorted out.
Oh man. And honestly, whenever Marlon Wayans dies in a movie like the Scary Movie franchise, you usually welcome it with arms wide open. But, I mean, I guess not this movie. I'm glad that they kicked you out, Carolyn, because you didn't witness the rest of the movie. If you had, it would have just been. Anyways, you saved yourself some time. But
So I guess I'm the odd one because I actually
you like that
really
movie?
enjoyed that movie.
Wait, with cookies or without the cookies?
That was before cookies, before I was ever making cookies. So I
Man.
enjoyed it
Okay.
sober.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, if you liked it, why Mazel tov, buddy. I don't know how you do it. I'm impressed, to be
You
honest.
gotta find the gold nuggets amongst the shit
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah, but you find out it's just shitty corn.
Everybody, hey, it's a prize to someone.
That is such a D&D thing to say. It is
It
a
is a
prize to
D&D.
someone. That is such a D&D thing to say.
I mean, it's a prize to someone and a mimic to others, right? I mean, like, it looks like a treasure chest and ends up attacking you and hurting you. But that being said, I'm glad that you liked it, Waiya. I'm glad that there's at least one defender on here. We do also have an awesome amount of folks in the chat. We got Forever XP. Thank you for joining us, Forever XP. And then KD in LA, thank you for joining us as well. Katie in LA very strongly opinionated about the 2000 Dungeons and Dragons movie, saying that movie should be outlawed as a war crime. We cannot dispute that, Katie. At least 3/4 of our party here, but that's okay. We love Waiya because we are here to talk about a different D&D movie, and Honor Among Thieves, in my opinion, was not just a stellar improvement on the 2000 movie in every way, but just honestly one of my favorite movies of this year, if not my favorite movie of the year so far. I feel like a lot of the things that I put a lot of stake in, whether it was Quantumania or Shazam, they kind of disappointed me. But D&D exceeded all of my expectations and made me incredibly happy to see it. And that's why if we were all to give it ratings, my rating would be honestly 4 out of 5 popcorns, for this movie. I wanted to go around and just see what everybody else rated it. Carolyn, for you, what did you think out of 5?
Okay, 5 out of 5, because this had the perfect blend that the first one should have had of seriousness, not seriousness, cheese, because it's a game basically where everybody pretends to be something. It's a bunch of adults playing pretend and doing math, and Jim Henson level humor and puppets. And that was what did it for me, because it gave off big Jim Henson vibes with the cat, and there's the fish, and then there's the gelatinous cube and the chest, and it was just like, I don't know if they did the puppet work on this or the animatronic work on this, but the minute I saw it, I was just like, this is late 80s, early 90s, which is when D&D was big, which is why I like it. And it was just fun. Movies are not every movie has to have pathos and wit. And it was just a good movie to tune in, turn on, and drop out with your brain.
To be fair, though, this movie had both pathos and wit as well.
True, it did.
Yes,
it did.
It was. That's actually one of the reasons why I really liked it very much. It was a very witty movie. Rather than taking its cues from something like, it could have easily been an attempt at a Lord of the Rings slog, but it ended up pivoting and going into something more like Princess Bride and Shrek, which I really loved in terms of tone. But love your reasons for the 5, Carolyn. I think it's completely valid, and I totally agree with so much of that as well. Waiya, what about you? A rating out of 5 popcorns.
See, I'm just a half step short. I went 4.5. And my reasoning for it is, while I love it as a movie and I love it as a fan of games, and I want to see more games turn into great movie properties, I felt it falls into 2 kind of holes that I always ding an original work for. One, referencing other movies, like just do your own thing. And there's a couple of funny moments, but still is like kind of a reference to a different franchise completely, and it's kind of like,
I know what you're talking about.
It's that sort of thing that kind of feels like it's a half step short of what it could have been.
Of course. Why I apologize for this. Really quickly, what was the thing that you were referencing? By the way, spoiler alert for everyone who is watching who hasn't seen the movie. But we're just going to talk full spoilers because this is a movie discussion. Yeah, why? Which scene were you referencing?
For me specifically, the owlbear in the climax beating up the Red Witch had very hardcore Hulk vibes.
Hulk vibes. Yeah.
Like, this is a joke now that has been redug out of this well like 3 or 4 times already. And it's like, okay, yeah, there's that big smash moment, but it was like,
yeah.
Come on.
Wait, you're not counting with the Hobbit and the Hobbit joke?
Well, yeah, Death by Snoo.
No, yeah.
I got that reference. I
got that reference real quick
that
too.
Was Death by Snoo.
No, but his whole what did you do today? Oh, I took a walk. I'm working on my book. I was like, it's the Hobbit. She freaking Frodo has a sidekick.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah,
I went immediately to the Futurama reference. Death by
Snoo. I went. I thought Death by Snoo too, but I will say, yeah, I get where you're getting at right now, Carolyn, because Martelman, I guess that's the name of the character, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way that he looks, the halfling species, of course, and the way that he looks, the way that he lives, very reminiscent of something that we'd see out of Tolkien. And
then he straight up mentions, he's like, I went for a walk and I took up my book, and I was like, that's a Lord of the Rings reference right there. And also, that's Bradley Cooper. Why is Bradley Cooper here?
Yeah.
But once again, he wasn't on set again.
Cameos.
He was. But it was such a great cameo when, like, it's a slow burn cameo because, like, everybody watching the movie in my theater was kind of like, wait a minute, is that freaking Bradley Cooper? And then all of a sudden people start giggling more and more and more, and then everybody starts giggling when everybody comes to the full realization that it's Martelman's Bradley Cooper, which I loved. But yeah. And Waiya, by the way, just going back to, because I was thinking when you referenced the scene, I was like, is he talking about the owlbear Hulk scene? And you totally were. And I was like, yeah, I get it. That was very much a Hulk moment. But yeah. Kenji, buddy, I'm so sorry we haven't gotten to your popcorn rating yet. Out of 5, how many popcorns, pal?
I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. And honestly, it's just, I ended up having a lot of fun with it. Just, I ended up seeing it with my dad, the Dungeon Master. We ended up seeing it. And there's so much of it because, okay, so our adventure happens in Neverwinter. So, like, I'm watching this thing and it's almost like a parallel adventure to what's happening. It's like, meanwhile, while my party's doing this, there's this bigger party that has more money than us, is able to show it a little bit more than us. But, like, I thought it was great. We saw, like, my dad and I were, like, noticing all the different references. Like, we love the reference to the original Dungeons and Dragons in the Coliseum, the original Dungeons and Dragons cartoon. The other guys that are trapped in the cell, those are all the members of the original party from the cartoon.
Yep. You've got the little kid barbarian that's not a little kid.
And he even pulls the axe out. He's like, yeah.
That's the reference I didn't mind because it's within the same universe. Fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's an Easter egg, if anything. So, like, it's fantastic. I mean, of course, there was, like, a lot of it, too. Like, just also watching one of the Red Wizard, I guess, Thanes, they were fighting. He uses the green flame spell, and I'm like, that's my spell. And then another one uses, and then the paladin uses smite, and I'm like, I know that's. It was just, it was nerd popcorn everywhere. It was fantastic. I can't. Sure, there were references, but it's also like to say, you can't just say. I mean, I don't know. It's like I get you understand, like you saying, like it's like a Hulk bit, but it's also like, I mean, I feel like I guarantee if we look in some form of media elsewhere, there's definitely a moment where, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger did something very similar in the Hercules movies. You know what I mean? Like, I guarantee there's something like that, like in those old classic movies where something like that is there. So it's hard to really say, like,
I felt like it might have been, and the reason being is two reasons. Goldstein, Jonathan Goldstein, and John Francis Daley are Marvel writers. They wrote Homecoming back in the day.
Okay.
And then the producer, Jeremy Latcham, was actually a longtime Marvel Studios producer behind Iron Man, behind I want to say the first Avengers movie and Guardians of the Galaxy as well. Which is why I felt like the movie had a Guardians, Avengers kind of Marvel Studios sort of vibe to it. But that resonates with me as a Marvel Studios fan. I'm rocking a freaking Guardians of the Galaxy shirt right now, and I think that's the right way to do a movie like this. This tongue-in-cheek sort of thing. So it's very possible that it was Jeremy Latcham and Goldstein and Daly kind of going into the Marvel well, but there's nothing wrong with that, especially when even Marvel Studios doesn't really feel like Marvel Studios anymore. When you've got a D&D movie that feels more like Marvel Studios than Marvel Studios does, let's rejoice, let's enjoy it, right? So
Hell yeah. Hell
yeah.
yeah.
I feel like I'm the lowest rating on here, and I feel bad about that because I really do like this movie. But I'm gonna give it some points off for like maybe two specific reasons, I think. One is, unfortunately, I thought Doric, Sophia Lillis's character, was very much so underdeveloped compared to the rest of the party. Like everybody else was delightful, and I'm not saying that Doric wasn't delightful. The one take shot of her escaping the castle, wild shaping every 5 seconds was goddamn amazing, and her owlbear appearances were great. But there wasn't nearly as much to her character from a motivational standpoint or emotional standpoint as the rest of the party. So I was like, I wish that they developed her just a little bit more. No offense to Sophia Lillis, who did a great job. And then also I did feel Daisy Head's Red Wizard villain was a little bit forgettable, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But again, if we're keeping with the Marvel Studios kind of feel, that was early Marvel Studios' biggest flaws, where the villains were always pretty much quite forgettable. But yeah, but setting up really like a larger villain to come in the future, which this movie definitely still does, right? So those were the reasons why I'm one popcorn down from most of you guys, or half a popcorn down in that case, Waiya. But wanted to get your thoughts on that, guys. I mean, did you guys feel the same way as I did, or am I being too critical?
I kind of agree with you on the druid character. She didn't so much have an arc. She started not really trusting and liking humans, and ends the movie kind of not liking and not trusting humans.
Yeah.
Like she'll trust these humans.
Yeah.
While everybody else like actually has an arc.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I totally get you there.
Yeah. Carolyn or Kenji?
I'll be brief, and I'll just say that I agree with you 100%. And it also feels, as much as I did enjoy the movie, and I did, it's still a 5 out of 5. It feels a little lazy to me, because you have a character that's very underdeveloped. Suddenly she could take a much bigger role in the sequel, rather than just having her be a much more developed character in this one. But suddenly we have, if I'll borrow an analogy from Guardians of the Galaxy, we have a Rocket Raccoon whose story is going to take 3 things to develop, and suddenly she's one of the most important ones. But it's like, do that. They couldn't have known that this was going to do as well as it did. I think they might have guessed, but they couldn't have known that. So you pick one character, you make them underdeveloped, and suddenly you have an ace in the hole. And I'm like, I don't know, that just seems iffy to me. But that's just me.
Yeah, of course. Kenji, what about you?
Forgive me. But I mean, I would say, while I understand, like, yeah, the character is underdeveloped a little bit, I also feel like that kind of gives it room to go somewhere, because I'm also sure that even Hasbro was like, we'll put money into this, but like, we're glad if it makes back the money, the budget plus marketing. If it can make break even, we'll be happy. Like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, what was behind it, like even like the marketing behind it didn't feel like it had a lot of gusto, like a lot of the Marvel you see with behind like Marvel, or maybe even like some of these bigger like even the Fast and the Furious movies, so it was really, I will say, like, I did like the fact that it tried to do its own thing besides trying to be like another Game of Thrones, another Rings of Power sort of thing. Like, it went and did its own thing, and I love that it showed just the hilarity that happens when you play the Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Like, you you fuck up so much when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons. If you actually watched my stream last Sunday, I almost died. Like I was like, you can mess up so bad. So like I love that, and of course at the time you're like, oh my gosh, but then like you get to tell the story later with your friends, and it's like it's hilarious, and to watch it play out, like the whole bridge sequence was like
the bridge sequence was perfect.
it was perfect. It was so great, and I just it's phenomenal, and I just love that there's room for it, because I mean for growth. Like I mean, this is just the first. This is the story that comes with the player's handbook. You know what I mean? Like, it's such a small thing. So like, there's so much for this to expand. And I mean, how many books are there? Like, not including just for class, for books solely based on classes. Like, there's so much involved, and I would love to see where they take the series. I don't want it to get bloated like the Star Wars and the Marvel series have been starting to become. But with that said, I mean, I would very much like to see where this goes. Like, I would like to see more films made of it. Yeah, you could do a lot with these. Like, I mean, you could easily do like a spin-off series from it, like just about the Harpers and stuff like that. You know, like I could see that being an Amazon series. I don't know about you guys, but
oh yeah,
absolutely. So, Mike just wanted to announce to the group a couple of things. One, Mike would like to call out our friends who joined the chat. Andy, how are you doing? And Heartless7, always good to see you. Cue Ball as well. But Mike wanted to call out two things. Our friend Heartless has redeemed two, Nom Talk point redemptions. The first is hydrate. So everyone take a swig. And Mike would like to point out that the second one that Heartless redeemed is third person. So for the next couple of minutes, we are going to be all talking in the group is going to talk in third person. Is that third person? Hopefully that's third person. Anyways, Mike would like to say that Kenji, great points all around. Yes, the movie really felt like people playing D&D. Rolling for choices, for options, for decisions, and for luck as well. So when Simon approaches the bridge and an NPC like Zank is explaining how to go across the bridge, and it's essentially like you have to roll for to cross over, roll a 7 or more, and somebody just beefs it with a 1, a natural 1, and just like everything collapses. That scene felt very much like that. The bad decision sometimes, like when a DM is telling somebody, you have to do this, 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 and this, and this. What are your choices? And you're just like, I'm just gonna attack, and it's like the stupidest choice in the world. That's what this thing felt like. That being said, Mike would like to ask everyone on the call, who here has the experience? Obviously, Kenji and Carolyn, you guys have experience. Waiya, do you also have experience playing D&D? Are you an experienced D&D player?
No. I have LARPed before, and I've played the games like Daggerfall and Baldur's Keep. I've played the games in that sense, and also a big fan of like Divinity Original Sin. But I've never actually played Dungeons and Dragons with a group. Play like Warhammer roleplay, which is fairly similar back in like the 90s. Oh, I just dated myself.
Mike would like to call out that Waiya has something in common with Regé-Jean Page, because Regé-Jean Page also didn't play D&D but was a Warhammer fan. So that's kind of cool.
Waiya thinks that's very sad for himself, though.
Come on.
Wyatt is going to go back to Wyatt's cookie.
if it makes Wyatt feel better, Mike didn't play D&D until the pandemic. Really, when his friends were kind of looking for something to do. Two of his friends were very huge Critical Role fans, and they always wanted to get together. And then we finished one campaign, got halfway through another, but ultimately Mike and his friends didn't finish that one. So but Mike and his friends got into it quite a bit. But Carolyn, Kenji, how long have you guys been playing D&D?
Carolyn will let Kenji take this one for the moment because Carolyn's going to formulate an interesting answer. Kenji has far more experience.
Carolyn's trying to get out of third person. No, I'm joking.
Well,
No,
Kenji started tabletop gaming way back in the back in the 90s when his dad took him to one of his old former college friends' place. They were all tabletop gamers, and it was a game called Rift, which is basically like techno punk meets like multiverse. So it's like you'll have like an Amazonian fighting against like a Japanese guy who's in like essentially a Gundam suit. Like it's really cool. I mean, like a small Gundam suit, not a big one, but but it's a really cool thing. And then from there, I got really into tabletop gaming, and then like just kept playing it. At one point, my friends found out that my dad was in high school. My friends found out my dad was into tabletop gaming. They're like, "Hey, so Kenji, your dad plays Dungeons and Dragons, right? We were wondering if he could join us in a campaign. What about me? Yeah, you can join us too." I mean, it was one of those things where like I just kept playing it, and it was really sad because after a while, you just kind of people start to move, and then you don't really find a whole lot of people who can do those tabletop games anymore. But then, of course, lately, because it's like the pandemic and all those things like that, like these virtual tabletop things started becoming like a big thing. And now, like, yeah, I'm doing it again, and I love it. I mean, there are some times where I kind of wish that I didn't have RNG because my character like beefs it so hard sometimes. Where just like, I wish I could just like naturally roll it in front of myself and just be like, hey, because this is what I rolled, okay? Like, can we just go with this as opposed to RNG?
Whole lot of 19s.
Oh, don't get me started on a game where I played where someone kept doing that. But anyway.
Love it. Love it. No, Mike would like to point out, well, Mike would like to ask the producer, are we done with third person? Okay. I don't think we're done with third person. That
I don't
being
think we
said,
are.
Mike
can
would
do
like
third
to ask.
person all night.
Yeah.
The group is not. There we go.
Now that Kenji's finished, Carolyn, third person for you, but experience with D&D.
So Carolyn's history with D&D is somewhat similar to Kenji's. When Carolyn was small, Carolyn's stepfather was very into tabletop roleplay gaming, but rather than D&D and the friendly side, almost not necessarily family friendly, but still friendlier to smaller children, Carolyn's stepfather played Vampire the Masquerade. Which, if you are not familiar with Vampire the Masquerade, is definitely not a family friendly game. But I was playing Carolyn had all these characters, and Carolyn grew up with this, and Carolyn's stepdad was really into it because it's a lot of math. And Carolyn knows a lot.
Carolyn, I'm gonna pause you and let you know that third person is done, so you're off the hook.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't want to torture you for that long.
So I know a number of professional DMs. I'm very privileged to know some people who have done tabletop professionally in major settings. I've played in a couple of D&D using the oh god, I don't know what to call it, the book, the play guide, you know where I'm going with this. Yeah,
the handbook.
Yeah, the system. People have used the system to build their own games of a sort. I played in one that was based off of a podcast called the Magnus Archives. That was a lot of fun. And so I've done it a couple of times. Playing an actual fantasy version, I'm still looking for a table, so to speak, for my fantasy character. But I do have, like I said, I do have a lot of friends that do this professionally. So the minute I said that, they were like, oh, really? Are you willing to pay $40 so you can sit at my table? I guess, I don't know. I say that with love. If any of my friends are watching, I say that with love. Because they're all absolutely, utterly brilliant dungeon masters. So I'm very privileged to know so many people. Kenji as well. I mean, look, I'm wearing the Gatewalker Saga shirt.
I know.
Look at that.
Dad, look, she's wearing the thing.
So we rep in this house we represent people's tabletop campaigns. That was my biggest problem though. It's like, if I'm in a tabletop campaign, I'm gonna make merch and market it, and it's gonna have a whole story and comic books, and Critical Role ruined me, damn it. Anyway, go on. Yes, that's me.
Yeah. Well, Katie and LA, we're gonna have to pause for a split second because Katie and LA redeemed You're So Punny for me. So if you guys are okay with it, we'll table this conversation momentarily. Sorry, that was a tabletop pun. I don't know if that worked, Katie. I'll try for a better one. Anyways, sorry about that, guys. I guess we better roll on with the punches and just continue on. Are those good enough? Okay, yeah.
I mean, I think he's being a little critical, but
there you go.
There it is.
You're trying to dice on camera?
What's that?
Are you trying to dice on camera?
Yeah, dice around the conversation. Well, it's getting a little dicey anyways, but yeah. I don't know what other puns we could probably make. I guess I could say like, I've never played D&D or been like a dungeon master myself. I'm only a dungeon master in the bedroom on Kinky Nights, and that's it. But no. Okay, that one was a little
Dungeon Master. Dungeon Master.
You just gotta
Yes,
put a little
Mr. Dungeon
from PG
Master.
to PG-13.
Looks like Katie and LA said that I failed my skill checks. That's very true.
Intellect. Roll the 2.
Sorry about that, guys. But our conversation did spark a couple of things actually, and I love being able to kind of just see what everyone's experience level was in playing the game before getting into the movie or seeing the movie. And it's so cool because like despite the fact that like Carolyn and Kenji, you guys are longtime fans and you ended up loving this movie, this could have gone easily very wrong for you guys because of how much you love this lore. And then of course there's me, who's just a noob, in terms of playing really a couple of years and really only 2 campaigns. We did which we didn't even finish, and Waiya you haven't even played at all, and yet all of us really just enjoyed this movie, which is so cool because it speaks to how well John Francis Staley and Jonathan Goldstein did their job. It's hard to take a movie as niche on a subject as niche as Dungeons and Dragons and make a crowd pleaser out of it, and they managed to freaking do that. So super impressed by that. I think Cue Ball went ahead and suggested a poll for us. He redeemed 1,000 Nom Talk points. Thank you for that, Cue Ball. What progressive rock, classic rock band would you have on your own D&D soundtrack? Kansas or You Were a Heap, or your own choice? I don't know any of those bands, but I'm going to
neither do I, Mike.
I'm going to put other. Wait, is Kansas Carry On Our Wayward Son?
Carry on my wayward
Is that Kansas?
I'm gonna vote
like,
for them because I know that song.
Yeah, I think, is that Kansas? I don't even know if that's Kansas or not. But,
it is, yeah.
Okay, then Kansas.
I'm with Mike.
I'm sorry, guys. I was never really that into prog rock. If I was James Gunn, then I probably would have had a better answer for you. But,
I mean, he's got some great song choices. I'm not gonna lie. Like,
the needle drops on those projects of his, we always love.
Journey's involved in that too. Oh,
Yep.
I suppose so.
Okay. Is it Eagles? I'll go Eagles.
Eagles should count as prog rock, right?
Can I pick Devo?
Oh shoot! I want to switch to Devo.
Oh, is Devo prog rock?
Holy Diver.
Or Men Without Hats.
I don't think Men Without Hats is prog rock.
I don't know what prog rock is, so I'm just naming things. I'm hoping you okay them. I'm not cool.
I'm sorry, Cue Ball. Hopefully this satisfies what you're asking for. But that being said,
I mean, I know who I would have on mine, and that's personally, I would have the guys who created the Star-Lord band from the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, which is Steve Shapowski and Johan Borodal. And
Very
basically,
cool.
and the reason why I say that is because they understand they know how to make that good rock music and good orchestration. But when it comes to like lyrics, they know like what works. Like if you guys ever hear the music from the Guardians of the Galaxy video game, you're kind of like listening to it, you're like, yo, what band is this? Oh, it's not an 80s band. Like they made a fake band for it's so good. They're great.
Yeah,
They're
def
phenomenal.
Stephanie provided us with a couple of other examples. Of course, Floyd. I didn't realize Floyd was prog rock, but I like Floyd. Genesis is considered prog rock. Okay. Rush, and Tool. And
Cool.
honestly, if I'm doing a if I'm doing a D&D soundtrack, I'm gonna put Rush on there, guys. I mean, come
Actually,
on.
yeah, you're right. Rush
Yeah.
for sure.
That's
For sure.
awesome. And you know, another thing that they did on Futurama too. So in addition to Snoo Snoo, they had Rush on a video game themed episode, which is kind of cool. Not that we're talking about video games, but that being said, yeah, I wanted to ask you guys honestly, this is a stacked ensemble, and everyone played their part so goddamn well in this. Chris Pine and Michelle Rodriguez, the chemistry between those two as buddies was phenomenal. Michelle Rodriguez is so good. She's never been better in a movie, I think. You know, she's been in like 50 Fast and Furious movies as Letty, and there's nothing wrong with Letty, but goddamn, I love Holga. She's so awesome in this. Regé-Jean Page is amazing. I really like Justice Smith and his arc and as well. Who do you guys feel is the MVP of this movie? Who just took this movie and just ran away with it? Go.
I have to
Justice
go.
Smith.
Oh,
Justice Smith. Oh,
That's my
very
pick.
cool. Yeah. Thoughts? Why?
Well, I interrupted Waiya, so I was gonna let everybody pick and
Oh yeah, of course.
you got in first.
Waiya, then.
You got in
We'll
first.
do it that way. We'll do it that way. Waiya, who's your MVP?
All right, I'd have to go Chris Pine. You know,
Yeah,
he
that's fine.
wasn't given a lot of physicality in this role. He had to do it all charisma, and my dude was rolling that 20s the whole movie.
Yeah.
I was with him every step of the way. I'm like, this is a guy that has lived his life talking his way out of things.
Yeah,
and he's
absolutely.
just perfect. Perfect.
Kenji, your pick, MVP?
Honestly, I loved Justice Smith as well. I thought he did. I loved the arc that they gave him. Like, I mean, he's also, and I mean, Chris Pine. Like, I mean, I could talk about. I mean, we're just naming our people right now, aren't we? We can get into our reasons later.
All good. I'm gonna go with Regé-Jean Page, guys. I thought he was just fucking freaking amazing in the movie. And we don't get enough of him, but the moments that we do, it's so goddamn good. Like the way that he fights and everything. But Carolyn, you were the first to say Justice Smith. You were the first to pick a character. Why Justice Smith for you?
He's the D&D, he's the guy at the table who knows how to play the game, but knows he kind of sucks at it. And he always rolls. He's kind of sucky on his rolls until the latter half of the game when he hits a streak of luck. And I also he reminded me of Marlon Wayne's character in the original movie. And I was
so we're still not over that 23 years later.
That was heartbreaking. They had to pull me. I literally almost got arrested. I'm not even playing. I almost got arrested. I was furious. And my friend at the time, my friend at the time who I was dating was just like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm going, this was a decent film with him in it, and now there's nothing. But he reminded me of that. You know, this is, it's supposed to be fun, and there's always noble knights. There's always noble lady. It would probably go. God, it sucks because really the only person who I didn't like was the Tiefling druid as much.
Yeah, it sucks too because I'm a tiefling as well. Just I'm a tiefling sorcerer that's trying to work his way into being a sorlock. So I could learn more spells other than just the sorcery spells. But I wanted the tiefling to be the best. And I like Doric enough definitely to see her again in another movie. But yeah, not as much. But Justice Smith, like really good choice. Yeah. But sorry, continue. I interrupted.
No, that's just it. That's just it. He was the goofy, not the comic relief, but the guy who had more to prove. And it's like, yeah, Pine was great, but we've seen Pine before. I think the best part about it for me was that you know, exactly what Waiya said, is that he didn't have a lot of physicality. He wasn't saving the day. He was a bard.
Yeah.
Even though somebody said they didn't think he was a bard, they thought he was a rogue that could just play the lute, and I could vibe with that. But that was basically it. Like, it's hard to pick an MVP, but for me, Justice Smith had the most developed arc. So
I think our buddy Katie in LA agrees with you. You know, they said Justice Smith had the best arc. You know, he was an everyman trying to find themselves, whose biggest barrier was their own lack of faith in themselves and their self-worth. So yeah, absolutely lovely arc. Kenji, since you picked Justice Smith too, why don't you go next? Why Justice Smith for you?
I feel like Justice Smith, so sorry, Carolyn mentioned it earlier. Like, he's kind of like the guy that's playing the table who's not very good at it. Not so much the guy who's not very good at it. I feel like he represents us when we play the game.
Yeah.
Else is like pulling off everything so well. Like, maybe they're not getting the critical roll. They're not getting the juicy 20 every single time, but they're rolling high stats each time. But then there's Justice, who's just like us. It's just like us, you know, where when we're playing it, where every now and then we do really, really well, and also a lot of times we also really mess up. And I love that, and that's the thing, and that's why I wish like Waiya would give it a chance to play, because to play the Dungeons and Dragons tabletop, because yeah, Baldur's Gate is great. Like, I've played it, but when you mess up, it's not nearly as funny, because if you've got a really good dungeon master, they make you like you know you messed up, but they also kind of make you go, well, here's the thing that happens, and it's kind of funny if you want to listen to it. So it's definitely worth checking out.
I definitely think that he's so relatable when he messes up the bridge, but then he gets the hither stick, and at the end he's like, "I did good." And
now you're thinking with portals.
Like, that's what we say when we finally don't screw up in the game. We're like, "I did good." It's like weeping sad. Waiya, Chris Pine. I mean, definitely. You know, I think Andy on the chat shares your sentiment. I think Katie also said that Pine is a close second. Chris Pine for you, MVP. Go.
Yeah. Honestly, he started the movie strong with our entry into the world. Like, hey, you're going to take this journey with me. Here's my life story in 5 minutes. And I keep it interesting because I'm playing it on two levels of my introduction and my parole hearing. You know, in which I see a chat, they're giving love to Jarnathan.
Yeah.
Hashtag Jarnathan.
We got some Jarnathan love there. Poor Jarnathan.
But I think a lot of this hinged on the relatability of Edgin and his journey through it, because like, if we didn't like him, we didn't want him to win, none of this would work, right?
Yeah.
He's this charismatic linchpin within the world of the movie, but also to get the audience on the side of this group, because right now, like, you have the sorcerer that doesn't believe in himself, the tiefling that doesn't want to be here, the barbarian that's kind of gruff on all about everything. You need somebody that wants to be there and genuinely enjoys being in this world, and that's Chris Pine's character, and he sells every scene. Every scene.
I you know, honestly, Chris Pine as an actor, we know that he's great. He is so goddamn good in this movie. Like, what I love is that he's doing everything in this, like, in terms of acting range, you know. One moment he could be the charming and charismatic leader, the next thing he could be the fool. I really, one of the biggest laughs was when the illusion spell breaks and he's just like, oh, great, and then like he starts getting warped. That's the funniest damn thing.
My one issue is that he had the golden tongue, and yet he failed the speechcraft check with his own daughter. Like, yo, you can't get your daughter to believe the truth from you?
Which is like, if you're rolling, right? If you're rolling, like, you know,
that was a hard one right there.
Convince someone, and you end up just beefing it because you need a roll of, like, you know, 8 or higher to and they just beef it. But then at the same time, you could flip and do what I call the Star-Lord loser speech, because Star-Lord gave a very similar speech in Guardians of the Galaxy. I call it the 12% speech, where he's like, we're all losers. We've all lost something, but today we've got a chance to life's given us a chance to do something, to give a shit. Such a great speech. And we get a very similar speech here, but perfectly within the context of these characters. They also are losers, and they all have something to prove, except for Doric, who doesn't really have anyways. But everybody else has something really to fight for. And when they're like, well, what about you? And he's like, I'm the biggest loser of all. Are you kidding me? Like, even down to Waiya, you calling it out, of course. He can't even get his daughter to get with him, to come back to him and everything. And it's heart-wrenching, but he's got this optimism and this warmth to him during that moment that you see why he's leading this pack, this party, and you end up really loving him because of that. So I lots of love for Chris Pine there. I think Heartless also agrees Chris Pine was their favorite. I think, yeah, really, really good choices, guys. I chose Regé-Jean Page just because I felt like it was the funniest damn moments in the movie were, his contrast to everyone else, and the way that he plays this almost messianic Jesus-like character.
Lawful good.
Saving people. Yeah, the complete lawful good paladin. And how that just he literally walks in a straight line.
I totally imagine him to be in the player that would say language.
Yeah, exactly. And then he's like, is he gonna go around the rock? It's in the way.
He's just going right over it.
I go, it's so damn
but that's the genius of the writers, though, because while they did that and they played this character so serious, he was almost the Drax. I mean, okay, so we did have Holgath, but he had a lot of Drax mannerisms.
He had a lot of Drax mannerisms, yeah.
And that made it so much funnier because it puts Drax in a whole new context, and you're watching him and you're like, he is this close to going, nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I will catch it. And I'm like, that's such a cool way to take on lawful good, though, because lawful good, there is no, there's no shades of gray whatsoever. There is just straight ahead, no very complicated path across the bridge, and then the bridge just breaks, and you're like, oh.
And the look that he just gives Justice Smith afterwards too. It's like the greatest 5 seconds of silence in that movie, or it's just like F you. No, I don't know. I enjoyed the living crap out of that, and I really hope if they have a sequel, when they have a sequel, I'm going to be hopeful here. I hope that they put Zenk in a lot more, because it's just a damn funny character. Honestly, there's not much more else I could say about to praise this movie. For me, the story was good. It was very personal. It was very heartfelt as well. Trying to get back somebody's daughter instead of just going out for treasure or what have you, was terrific. The directing was, of course, very, very well done, very well paced, all of that stuff. Like one take shots, like I said, the wild shape, scene in the castle. The action sequences in this movie are so good. I definitely want to see to ask you guys, what's the big highlight scene in this movie for you guys? If you guys had to pick different scenes that you just absolutely loved. Yeah, I'll go around the table. Waiya, start with you.
Personally, even though we only saw the start of the games, that first labyrinth with the displacer beast was pretty friggin' epic. Pretty epic. I wanted to see more of the tournament, but I'm also glad that they didn't, because that can just become the whole movie really easily. But yeah, it was just enough to go like, oh, I want to see more of the Panther kitties.
Very much true. Kenji?
A lot of the fight scenes were just so well done. Like, it was chaotic, frenetic, and it was done to the point where, like, as a person who's watching it, there wasn't a lot of, basically, I call it the last Jedi throne room battle scene, where there's a lot of empty space where things could clearly be happening or be attacking, and it's not happening. So like there wasn't any of that. It was frenetic, and it was almost the use of environment. It was just really well done, and particularly the scene in the Smith shop with Olga.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was so well done. Just I thought it was great, and yeah, and of course the fight scene that Regé-Jean does with the Thane, I thought that was phenomenal as well. Like there's all the action fight scenes are great.
Right? The choreography didn't have to be this good, and it was actually pretty stellar. It's not John Wick great, but it's so much better than what we've seen in movies a lot recently. So I was very, very pleased with that. I also love how Holga kind of upgrades her weapon, just like you would do in a games, you know. So
I don't mind this.
yeah, I don't mind this. Yeah.
I don't mind this.
MVP. Best scene for you.
Kenji said all the fight scenes were good. I'm gonna not cheat, but roll for sneak attack and say, all the things with the animals. I am obsessed with the sheer number of puppets and creatures in this, and that's not something that they had in the last. And that's not something they had in the last D&D movie, and that's such a core integral part of it, because everybody knows the owl bear, everybody knows the gelatinous cube. The gelatinous cube was there, and the chest that eats things. That's such an iconic part of not just D&D culture, but nerd culture. And that was where all the fun comes from. Is just, it's not like Pokemon fun, and it's not like, Star Wars fun where there's all kinds of like the porgs and stuff, but it's its own little, like, kids are gonna go, what's that? And then the parents are gonna go, that, my child, is the gelatinous cube. And one day I will tell you how I met your mother because of the gelatinous cube. And it is just, and it's like a lightsaber. The gelatinous cube isn't as cool as a lightsaber, and it doesn't pass on any mythical anything, but it's such a huge part of nerd culture. You can pass it down. So all this stuff, I roll my sneak attack and I say all this stuff with the puppets, because the puppets are great.
They were. I mean, don't you just love it when movies take the Del Toro, Jim Henson approach to things, right? And just kind of use the practical effects to build out this world instead of just CGIing everything. Quantumania. Anyways, yeah.
But I still love my big chunkers.
Yeah. What's it called? Themberchad, right? Like, is that what you're
Big red dragon?
Yeah, Themberchad.
Yeah. Did he eat the last one?
Just looked like he just reminded me of like a little pug, a little fat little pug running around on a kitchen linoleum floor that just can't get its footing.
Flops over.
He does the roll at one point too. He's just like, because he can't move.
It's the cutest, most terrifying monster this movie has ever conceived. I loved all of that. I gotta say, I think really great choices. I'm very impressed by the final battle. There's a moment, a lot of really good moments in that final battle, but there's a moment where you kind of see all of the characters taking a hit to Safina, and it's like, it kind of reminded me a lot of somebody, I think I read somewhere was talking about how it's very much like a game, how you roll for turns, right? And everything's like, oh, you hit them, and then you hit her, and then she does this, and then this person does that. This person hits him with the loot. This person does chain lightning. This person does, and I'm like, this is great. Like that, it's a fast-paced scene. It's very well done, but it also captures that essence that somebody's rolling and battling. This group is rolling and battling this character, and I was like, that's really an innovative way to present D&D to people. So I really enjoyed that. Such a good movie. Honestly, I think Andy put out something right now saying that there's a probability that they're going to put out a sequel, especially with the fun tongue-in-cheek tongue-in-cheekness of the film that's geared towards fans. The reception of this movie has been good, and I think that it debuted pretty well. Not stellar, but good enough. Certainly much better than anyone expected. I wanted to ask you guys, I mean, like, if you guys, could see a sequel, what do you want to see in the sequel? What ideas that maybe they touched on here that they want, you want to develop more things from other games? If you guys played the games, I mean, like, thoughts for your pitches of D&D 2.
All right, I'll go first. I would say D&D 2 brand new cast, completely new party, new quest.
Mm.
Maybe have one character from the previous do a cameo to start off the quest and like hand off the torch. Now it's your guys' job, but don't have this. If you're going to build a franchise, don't have it rely on specific characters. Have it rely on the world, and then you can tell whatever story you want and not have to worry about, oh, this actor has done some silliness and just gonna crap on the whole production, and like, well, now I can't enjoy this thing anymore because this person is involved. You know, just new cast every time, fresh story every time. Go to a new place.
Kind of like a Knives Out situation, right? Like,
Yeah.
There you go.
That's not a bad idea. Yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
bring Zinc over.
Yeah.
New party.
Cool. Anyone else?
Curse of Strahd. I think doing Curse of Strahd, I think Waiya's idea I'm absolutely kind of obsessed with. And I think if we're gonna pick a character to carry over to different franchises, it should either be Pine or Justice Smith's character, because I feel like Justice Smith's character has had the most growth. So it's like, yeah, we could tap into Darok's backstory. We could do that, but if you had Justice Smith as he, grows in power as a wizard, just sending people off on these quests, and it doesn't have to be. I read an article with Michelle Rodriguez, and she was like, "There's different books for it," and I was just like, if they really wanted to be topical, maybe not as funny, because Curse of Strahd is actually kind of a dark campaign, but that might be a good way to launch it, so to speak. But I 100% agree with Wyatt's idea. Like, have one character carry throughout the franchise, and then the rest of them is just a rotating cast.
Kenji, what about you, sir?
I kind of like the idea of a rotating cast as well, because I even brought it up to my dad as we were leaving the theater. I was like, you could totally easily do a rotating cast with this story, and it would be okay. It would be okay. I mean, I absolutely, have like maybe one or two characters, that come into the story, but maybe not like so much as like passing on the torch. Maybe like kind of like how like Zank kind of shows up in this series, in this movie, kind of like they're the Zank of Dungeons and Dragons too, like we actually get to see Doric, and maybe she has a bit of more growth, and then she's like, okay, we actually, because she meets this new party, and then she's like, farewell and all that. And so yeah, I actually like the idea of what Waiya was saying, because I definitely was definitely parroting that to my father earlier when I was leaving the theater. So yeah.
So I'm going to put on my studio executive hat and pitch something that I hope Paramount is watching for the sake of money, and that most people watching this will probably groan at. Cinematic universe, guys. We introduce different parties and different cast members, rotating cast, like Wyatt said, for different movies. I think Katie in LA suggested that they wanted to see Tiamat be one of the big villains, which would be an epic villain with multiple, dragon with multiple heads and everything like that, which would be amazing. What if all of the different casts end up combining in an endgame like situation to fight Tiamat?
Well, Power Rangers
just
forever.
Don't make.
Why not? Why not endgame this shit? Portals exist in this universe. Every single character could jump out from all the different D&D movies and do battle against Tiamat,
If you're looking for Jeremy Irons, you will not find Jeremy Irons.
No.
It's close.
We'll invite Marlon Wayans for Carolyn, but not Jeremy Irons. Yeah. And then Marlon Wayans and Justice Smith can team up, Carolyn.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, like, Tiamat could be the big, boss at the end of all of this or something like that, I mean.
I like that idea. Because I remember there's, what would be interesting is if there were not other role-playing systems, but like if it was, because I know that you can use the D&D system, and they're for like steampunk worlds and things like that. So I think that would work if each person did, like, Kenji can confirm this because Kenji is the real D&D head, but I was talking to, or I was reading that Michelle Rodriguez, and she was like, there's different books and different stories. And so it's like, there are some steampunky worlds, and there are some like
Yeah.
Cybertronic worlds and things like that. If you had all of that together versus Tiamat, that might be fun.
I don't know. I don't necessarily remember like the cyberpunky, but there's definitely a lot of steampunk stuff for sure. Like, I mean, an artificer is literally just a person who's, an artificer is basically just a person who like uses like a puppet to fight with them. Like, basically, my friend, he uses essentially like one of those robots from Doctor Who made out of wood and stone is fighting for him while he punches magic skulls. Like, it's like he's basically Colonel Armstrong with a puppet. So like it's very
kind of amazing.
Yeah.
Let's not forget that the world of D&D is actually one of the many planes in Magic the Gathering as well. So we have that whole multiverse involved too. Well, so
if we're going that far, then that means that Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter could show up, because I saw those collector's Magic the Gathering Street Fighter cards, dude.
And
then Pokemon comes in because of Wizards of the Coast,
Hasbro pulls it in, and we get the Transformers D&D movie crossover.
Oh,
stop telling them how to print money. Stop telling them how to print money.
Hang on, Simon.
You get Simon going, Pikachu, I choose you. Oh my God, they were in Detective Pikachu together.
Oh my God. Yeah,
we have like 5 different versions of Ryan Reynolds running around.
This is such a mess, guys.
They're all making dick jokes the entire time.
we're getting this movie's getting out of hand. The budget's spiraling. Everyone listening and watching, we love you guys. Thank you so much. I think there's a couple of other comments. Forever XP said, what if they did a bunch of different genres, smash them together in endgame style, effing kitchen sink style? I think there's lots of adventurers assemble, adventurers, let's roll, let's ride. Yes, indeed. These adventurers, however, are out of time. I know that we could talk about this movie forever, and we would love to. We really appreciate all of you guys tuning in, and we love that you contributed and you had so much fun. I hope you guys had fun anyways. You guys, we had fun because of you guys for sure. But that being said, all good things must come to an end, and we will get together for the sequel to Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves when our endgame style concepts actually make it to the screen later on. That being said,
drinking bet now.
Yeah, absolutely. That being said, just want to give quick outros to everyone. Carolyn, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Carolyn in Fandom on Twitter. You can find me at Carolyn's Geek Out on Instagram. And I'm going to take a moment and do 2 favors. You guys can follow my very dear friends, including you can follow my people that I know that work on Worlds Beyond Number. It's a great tabletop RPG podcast. You can also follow my friend, professional DM Ben Worley, Worley. He is perfect for your Curse of Strahd campaigns. And also Gatewalker Saga.
Gatewalker Saga. Awesome. Thank you for that, Carolyn. Waiya, what about you? Where can everyone find you?
You can catch me most usually on YouTube on my new channel, where I'd make painting videos. So if you want to learn how to paint statues in 3D print, it's a good channel to check out. We're growing.
I'm definitely going to check that out, Waiya. I love painting, and I'd love to learn some new techniques too.
Nice.
Thank you for that. Kenji, sir, what about you? Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Kenjinator. You can find me on Twitch at the Kenjinator. I don't really stream a whole lot there, but you should catch me on Sundays with my father at KDNLA, where we are part of the Gatewalker Saga, Dungeons and Dragons, virtual tabletop gaming that we do. Please check us out, buy our merch. Carolyn's got our, actually, I think in this group, I think Y is the only one that doesn't have the Gatewalker merch. Don't worry,
Mike. Catch up.
Oh no, I know, Mike. I know you got it. Don't worry.
Mike, my shirt's in the wash. I'm sorry.
I know. No worries. But yeah, check us out every Sunday. We usually start at 1 or 2 o'clock Pacific time, but then we go for a few hours. It's a lot of fun. It's a Neverwinter story, just like in the movie. So check us out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly speaking, if everyone on this who's listening was really vibing with the idea of a rotating cast and new stories with new characters in this universe. You can't look any better. You can't do any better than the Gatewalker Saga, guys. I mean, like, honestly, that's what this is. It's almost like, think of it as an indirect in-universe sequel to Honor Among Thieves, with people who are just as charming and charismatic as Chris Pine, Michelle Rodriguez, Justice Smith, Regé-Jean Page.
And
Certainly
all of them
more
are
so
played by
than
Kenji.
Zorik. But
And they're
yes.
all played.
And they're all
One of
played
the
by
players
Kenji.
Actually, oddly enough, Forever XP is actually a part of the campaign as well. So
There you go.
So yeah,
Nice.
check us out. It's awesome.
There you go. We're very glad that you're playing with Kenji, because if Kenji had dissociative identity disorder and just played with himself, you know, it'd be a completely, I mean, like, that would be really bad.
I mean, we have other problems with me playing with myself, but you know, that's a whole other.
This is a good one tonight. This is a good one tonight.
Yeah, we're on a roll, guys. We're really pushing that PG-13 envelope here. No, but think about it, guys. The podcast could be called D&D with DID. So there you go. No, I'm kidding. Horrible, you know, love to everyone out there who does have DID. But that being said, I'm gonna stop myself and say thank you guys for joining us. As always, I've been Mike Manalo, at ToddyBullBoy182 on Instagram and Twitter. But you can most definitely find me on the nerdsofcolor.org, at whattowatch.com, at that's it LA as well. And also on the Nom Talk Network for our next Basic Binges show, where on Friday we are going to go into episodes 5 and 6 of The Mandalorian season 3. So definitely tune in for that, guys. That being said, love you guys forever. Thank you guys for joining. And until next time, adventurers, let's roll out. Bye.